Hello, my dear young friends. Welcome to another magical evening with me, your storyteller of fairy tales and forgotten legends. Tonight, I invite you to a land far, far away, where the trees whisper secrets and the stars remember stories long buried beneath the sands of time. But before we begin, let me ask you something. If you lost everything in a single night, your family, your kingdom, your name, would you still fight for justice? That's the question one young girl had to answer. A girl who vanished as a child, only to return as a shadow in the night. Her name was Anastasia, and if you want more magical stories like this, don't forget to like this video and comment below. Which fairy tale do you want me to tell next? Now, let us begin. Chapter 1. The Fall of a Kingdom. Once upon a time, in the heart of a vast emerald jungle, there stood a kingdom called Tanzanga. A kingdom wrapped in sunlight and birdsong, where the rivers flowed like liquid silver and the people danced beneath banyan trees. In those golden days, Tanzanga was ruled by a wise and just king, King Reuben. He was not just a ruler, he was a friend to his people. Every morning, he walked among them in plain robes, asking about their farms, their children, and their dreams. By his side was his gentle queen, Amara, and their precious daughter, little Anastasia, with laughing eyes and a mind sharp as a falcon. The people loved them, and in return, the royal family protected them like the stars guard the moon. But shadows do not always fall from the sky. Sometimes they grow from within. Chapter 2. The Rise of Betrayal Among Kings. Reuben's most trusted man was a general named Boris, strong, ambitious, dangerous. He had once sworn loyalty to the king. But loyalty, you see, is fragile when greed whispers in your ear. Quietly, Boris began to twist the hearts of ministers with promises of power. He filled the knights' minds with lies and filled their pockets with gold. And one dark morning, under a blood-red sun, the betrayal began. The castle gates slammed shut. The royal guards turned their swords against their own. King Reuben and Queen Amara were seized, dragged from their chambers without a trial, and thrown into the deepest dungeon of their own palace. And 5-year-old Anastasia, she ran. Chapter 3. The Vanishing Princess. Catch her. Boris roared. She must not escape. Little Anastasia ran barefoot through the palace halls, her heart pounding like thunder. She darted between pillars, slipped past the kitchens, and burst through a secret door her father once showed her, a hidden passage beneath the gardens. But behind her, the boots of soldiers echoed louder and louder. She reached the river bank, trembling, breathless. And then she was gone. The soldiers searched for days, but no trace of the princess remained. Later, they told Boris she had drowned. Good, he said with a cruel smile. The last candle of Reuben's blood is snuffed out, but far away, in a cave nestled deep in the mountain forest, a child opened her eyes and took her first step toward destiny. Chapter 4. The Monk of the Wind. Years passed. Under the care of a mysterious hermit warrior known only as Michiko, Anastasia grew in silence and shadows. Michiko was not just a teacher. He was a guardian, and perhaps something more. He taught her how to fight, how to move without sound, how to breathe in fear, and exhale courage. Whenever your heart trembles, he would say, "Close your eyes. Breathe in the truth. Breathe out the doubt." Anastasia trained day and night. Her anger carved into focus, her sorrow honed into strength. But she never forgot the smell of her mother's hair, the warmth of her father's voice, and she never forgot the name Boris. Chapter 5. The Return of the Wind when Anastasia turned 17. Michiko placed a hand on her shoulder. "Your training is complete, child," he said softly. "Now go." "Tanzanga waits," she nodded. No longer a princess in silk, but a warrior in a simple cloak. She vanished into the jungle, just as she had once vanished from it. But this time, she would not run. She would return, not as a princess, but as something the people of Tanzanga had not seen in a long time. Hope. Chapter 6. The Shadow and the Market. It began with whispers. One evening, as the sun dipped beneath the mountains, a soldier was seen stealing apples from a hungry child in the market square. "No," the child cried. "Those are for my sister." The soldier raised his hand, but it never struck. A blur of motion. A single strike, and the soldier fell, groaning, his sword kicked far from reach. Standing above him, a cloaked girl, face hidden, voice steady. "Tell your king, his days are numbered." The soldier ran. The crowd gasped, and the child whispered, "Who are you?" The girl paused, a smile in her voice. "Call me Asia." That night, the city awoke. Chapter 7. Super Asia. From the mountains to the rivers, from the crowded streets to the noble halls, the legend spread like wildfire. A mysterious, masked girl, faster than the eye, braver than any soldier, protecting the weak, humiliating the corrupt. The children gave her a name, Super Asia, and with every nightfall, she returned, slipping through shadows, rescuing farmers from tax collectors, punishing guards who bullied the poor. People began to hope again. But in the castle, Boris seethed. "A girl," he thundered. "You mean to say a girl defies me in my own kingdom?" His ministers cowered, but one man, seated quietly in the corner, smiled softly. His name was Haruto, Minister of Public Welfare, and he knew more than he let on. Chapter 8. The Minister's Secret. That very evening, while torches flickered in the palace halls, Minister Haruto requested a quiet word with the king. Boris paced in anger. "She attacks only after sunset, strikes like lightning, and vanishes like smoke. How is she always one step ahead?" the ministers muttered nervously. Only Haruto kept calm. "I'm sorry to interrupt, Your Highness," Haruto said, bowing slightly, "but there's a pattern." "A pattern?" Boris raised an eyebrow. "She never strikes during the day, always after dark, and she seems to know our routines almost too well." For a brief second, something passed behind Haruto's eyes, a memory, perhaps. Boris waved him away. "Find her, or I'll start locking up every girl in this cursed kingdom." But Haruto had already made a decision. He would not hunt her. He would find her and help her. Chapter 9. The Mark of the Stars. That night, As the moon rose over the town square, Haruto stood alone on a quiet, cobbled road. He waited, and soon she came, a flicker in the corner of his eye. He turned. She was behind him, silent as nightfall, cloak rippling like shadow. Without fear, he reached for her hand, and gently he turned her face toward the light of the moon. There, beneath her eye, was a mark shaped like the constellation Ursa Major, the bear and the stars. Haruto's breath caught. Princess Anastasia, he whispered. She stepped back, stunned. How? How do you know my name? I was one of your father's men. My brother. He saved you, didn't he? Her eyes narrowed. You're his brother. I thought he had taken you, Haruto said softly. But I wasn't sure until now. Chapter 10. Loyalty and regret. Anastasia's fists were tight. Her voice was low. If you were loyal to my father, why did you join Boris? Haruto looked at the ground. When the king and queen were imprisoned, I was given a choice. Die or serve. He paused. I chose to live because I believed someday I could make things right. Anastasia didn't move. Michiko never told me where he took you, Haruto continued. He didn't trust me after I stayed, but now maybe I can finally do what I was meant to. Anastasia's voice was cold. If you want to prove your loyalty, help me free my parents. Haruto looked up. I already have a plan. Chapter 11. The king's vanity Boris is vain, Haruto explained. Every year, on the anniversary of his coup, he hosts a grand play in the Palace Theater, a performance retelling how he heroically took the throne. He plays himself in the story, Haruto added, almost amused. And he begins the act alone on stage before the others join. For 15 minutes, he continued. He's completely alone. No guards, no weapons, no threat. Anastasia's eyes lit with fire. That is when I'll take the throne back. Chapter 12. The night of reckoning, the day arrived. Banners flew. The drums rolled. The palace theater filled with nobles and soldiers. All of them gathered not out of joy, but out of fear, to watch Boris celebrate himself. Behind the curtains, actors waited, lights dimmed, the curtains opened. But the king was not standing. He was tied, bound, gagged, thrown to the floor like a sack of grain. And sitting upon the throne was Super Asia, no longer a shadow, no longer hiding. She had come into the light. Gasps rippled through the hall. Is this part of the play? It's her. It's her. Super Asia. Chapter 13. The truth revealed just then. Haruto stepped onto the stage, raising his hand. People of Tanzanga, he called. Behold your rightful ruler. The princess you thought was gone. She has returned, not as a child, but as your queen. The hall erupted in noise, some in shock, some in joy, some in disbelief. A general stood. Guards, protect the dungeons. If you don't release King Boris now, we'll harm your parents. Anastasia didn't even flinch. All the doors of this hall are locked from outside. she said calmly. And as we speak, my mother and father are being freed. The general went pale. Drop your weapons, she commanded, or suffer the fate of your king. Silence. Then, one by one, the swords clattered to the ground. Chapter 14. The end of tyranny, Boris snarled beneath his gag, eyes blazing with hatred. You deceived me, he hissed, as the cloth was torn away. You should have faced me like a man. Anastasia stepped forward. No, she said softly, I faced you like a daughter, like a protector, like a queen. Boris growled. My only mistake was thinking a girl could do me no harm. Anastasia gave him a sad smile. Yes, and that was your final mistake. The guards took Boris and his ministers away. Justice, long delayed, had finally arrived. Chapter 15. A queen is crowned that very evening. As the sun kissed the jungle treetops, the people gathered once more, this time not by fear, but by hope. King Reuben and Queen Amara stood proudly on the balcony, tears of joy in their eyes, and beside them, cloaked not in shadow, but in royal blue, stood Queen Anastasia. She looked out across the kingdom, hands trembling, and waved. The crowd erupted in cheers. The jungle echoed with joy. Tanzanga was free again, but Anastasia had changed. She knew that evil did not sleep. And so each day she ruled with wisdom and fairness. But each night she vanished into the dark, still cloaked, still vigilant, still Super Asia. Epilogue. The lesson of the stars. And so, my dear young friends, the story of Princess Anastasia comes to a close. Or does it? Because perhaps every kingdom has its shadow, and every shadow needs a light to guide it. Anastasia's story reminds us that courage is not about being strong. It is about standing up when no one else dares. That the smallest voice, even a child S, can shake a throne built on lies. That truth, even buried deep in the dark, always finds a way to shine. And now, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, comment below. What story would you love to hear next? And subscribe so you never miss the magic. Good night, little heroes. And remember, the stars are always watching.